your name at the top of his list. And the Statue of Liberty started shaking her fist. And the eagle will fly, and it's gonna be here. I brought to you courtesy of the red, white, and blue.
It's time for Veterans Issues, the show that brings you information about veterans, military, and their families. Now here's your host, Ken Rollins.
Welcome into Veterans Issues. Ken Rollins here, and today's guest is a World War II ex-prisoner of war. He is 95 years young, and he's been on here before. And you could stay right there and hear his story. Be right back. Get you up in. Welcome back to Veterans Issues. We got the guest I've got on here today. I've been trying to get back with him for a while. He's been roaming the world since we was on here last time, and he was 93, I think, at the time he was on here. Now he's 95. He's just a young chicken, walks better than I do and gets around better than I do. He's a great man and a great hero, and I appreciate him coming to do the show. Welcome to the show, Truman Waters. You're George Truman, but you said I could call you Truman.
Yes,
You folks can call him Truman if you meet him out. So. And let's let the people that didn't see the shows before know a little something about you. You're from the area here, right?
Right. I was Wedowee.
Wedowee. And you entered the service. Did you get drafted or you joined?
Was drafted.
Uh-oh. Got that letter from Uncle Sam.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And then you went into the Army?
Yeah. Back then it was Army Air Force.
Right.
Of course, when I joined the Army, but I requested the Air Force and received it. So that's how I was in the Army Air Force.
All right. I remember it coming to the Army Air Corps, but it was before my time. But anyhow, that was in what year?
That was 1942. Was when I drafted.
Okay.
I was drafted at Fort McClellan.
You're right after the Pearl Harbor was bombed.
Yes, that was in July after Pearl Harbor was bombed.
In December.
Mm-hmm. And that was the week that I got married.
Really?
It was the week that Pearl Harbor was bombed.
Oh, my doggone. I didn't know that, but I know there was a lot of things about that your new wife, was having premonitions about you and dreams about what was going on with you and stuff like that. We might get a chance to. But you went into Army Air Corps. What was your job in there? What did you do?
Well, to begin with, went to Boston, Massachusetts, and went through aircraft mechanic school. It was a civilian school there. And to begin with, I helped start training pilots and co-pilots that come in to fly B-17s. They'd never been on a 4-engine plane before. They'd been flying in training on 1-engine and 2-engine planes, and I was an engineer with those new bombers, and then that was getting ready to be on a combat crew myself, going overseas.
So you was teaching the pilots the mechanics of the plane.
Well, yes, it was the engine operation, how to handle different things if something went wrong or what have you with the engine, and just the general operation of the mechanical part of the plane, not the air statistics of it.
There's a lot of pluses when they went to 4 engines. That you had, if one goes out, you still had 3, and so on.
That's right.
It also added a lot of weight to an aircraft, and they had to know. I imagine for a pilot that's used to 2 engines to take off with that extra weight, there would be in a longer wingspan. There's got to be a challenge at least.
It's just a different situation for them altogether.
And that was, when did you go? Now you were the B-17. You was in that bubble up front. That's a turret
underneath. It was underneath the plane, behind the Bombay doors.
Okay, now I'm getting it straight. But I was thinking it's at the front of the plane, so it's under the bottom of the plane.
Yeah,
at the front.
Back toward the tail.
You were sitting there with a machine gun.
2 machine guns, 250 caliber machine guns.
So you was okay if they shot down at you, but the pilot wasn't.
No, and the rest of the crew.
But you was okay under there if they didn't get the guys above you.
That's what happened when I shot down.
Mm-hmm.
All the shots was coming into the plane above me, 20mm machine gun fire and all that explosions going on
Well, see,
above
I
me.
hadn't told him you shot down yet, but that's
Oh, I see.
we're going to get it. Well, how many people was on that plane with you?
Well, there's 11 people that particular day. A photographer had just thrown his equipment on that plane and got on it. His
Boy, he wished he
uninvited guest, and he was one of us that
Yeah.
got shot down.
Well, let me see now. You when you say you got shot down, there was a German plane come above you or something, and
There's
shot.
two planes come in. I didn't know about the one that came in from 2 o'clock high, but the one that I knew about was 6 o'clock level.
Okay.
And he was firing through the plane, and he was so high that I couldn't hit him, but his firing was over my head. So
Okay.
the tail gunner was killed, and one of the waist gunners, and the radio operator. So it just me and one other enlisted man that got out of the back of that plane.
What about that photographer?
He was up front with a navigator and bombardier.
Mm-hmm.
He was in the nose of the plane under the pilot and co-pilot up front.
So he didn't make it.
Oh, he made it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, all three of them made
I
it.
got you.
And the top gunner and the co-pilot made it out. But they were all wounded. The only one that wasn't wounded was me.
Did they get captured?
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
All of us were captured.
Now, when you went out, you had to go back there and get your parachute.
Well, I didn't have to go back. I just opened the door
Yeah.
and reached up to the cross piece that was holding the ball turret into position under that plane, and just kind of fall on my chute because I had a harness on, and that just snapped into the harness. My chute did, and then I got up out of the stepped on the seat of the ball turret and got out of there and run back to the waist, pulled the handle on the escape door, and jumped.
Had you ever jumped out of a plane before that?
I never.
Didn't have to think about it a lot?
No, I had to do a lot of thinking to stay in there.
That's what I thought. He'd been a fool. He sat there, look at that fool still there, and he could go, yeah. That was, and you landed, if I remember the story, you landed in like the mayor's front
Well,
yard.
it was in the little town there. Well,
Germany.
not right in the town. I was on a hillside. I say a hillside, it's a slope, and there's about 6 or 8 inches of snow on the ground. Just open country down to the village, and I mean, people were coming out watching the show. You know.
Oh, okay. They saw you coming.
Oh yeah, they was out there on the street looking at
And yeah,
all
that's
this
the day.
going on.
Then which one of them said you're a prisoner?
Well, I looked down there and seeing all those people on the street, and there's a farmhouse closer by, and there's 2 men standing out in front of the farmhouse, kind of a fence around. And I decided I'd walk to them because they were older men, and there's a lot of young folks down there. I could see there's all kind of people down there in that village, and I thought,
Let me hold you right there because we got to go to a break. And
yeah.
And when they do that, if I don't go, they got a piece of wire in my ear here, and they'll shock me and let me
Oh,
let me
yeah.
know if I don't.
I don't want to see you shot.
No, go ahead, because this is awesomeness. We got to go to a break, and when we come back, we're going to take it up there at the barn. Truman Waters. Welcome back to Veterans Issues. We're talking with Truman Waters, a World War II veteran, and he was talking. He just got shot down. His plane was just shot down, and he had landed. And he was telling us about saw 2 elderly fellows standing over, older folks that he figured you could communicate with by a barn there in Germany. Was it Germany?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'm not sure if it was Germany or Austria.
The other side of Wedowee, though, you know
Yeah.
that.
And when I tried to find out from the guy, the mayor that I was talking to, I said, "Is this Germany or Austria?" He says, "Germany, Austria, what's the difference? All the same." And I didn't realize how they looked at things. You know, I was looking at it from my angle. But when I saw these 2 guys standing out there, kind of leaning on the fence, I decided that's who I wanted to go over to rather than to meet all the gang down in this little village. And I walked over where they were. There's a couple of 100 yards from me, I guess, something like that. I walked through the snow over there, and the older one says, English? He couldn't speak English very well, and I couldn't speak any German. I said, no, American. Oh, Americano! And I indicated I wanted to go the other direction, around the back of the building instead of.
Yeah.
But each one of them, they frisked me down. You know, I had on my, it was a heated suit. I had to have on a heated suit.
Yeah.
I didn't have room in there for heavy clothes.
Right.
And it's just a heated suit that was plugged into a.
Wasn't plugged in no more though, was
No,
it?
it wasn't plugged in anymore, but it was nice. I was still cool. I mean, warm enough, you know.
Yeah.
Especially excitement that I'd been through,
Yeah.
and very appreciative that I was still alive
Amen.
and on the ground. And all that, so each one of them got me one under each arm. We walked down to where the gang was, and this young fella came out with his pencil and pad, and he could speak perfect English, but I let on like he couldn't speak good English when he says, what's your nationality? And I didn't know what he's saying, playing like I didn't. And so he gave up and just walked back into the crowd. So I was escorted into their little room. Well, it's a good-sized room where the mayor was, and other people had gathered in there. And they had me to sit down in a chair. And all the rest of them had a beer. They served beer.
Oh, yeah.
But I didn't get a beer. They set one out in front of me, and when I started to reach to get it, they grabbed it and had a big glass over it. So I stayed there 2 or 3 hours before 3 soldiers came out from my base and escorted me to the base.
And where'd they take you? Back to the.
Back to the air base where the planes had come from that shot us down. And it was about a 3-mile walk, I guess. About halfway back to the base, this officer drove up. He jumped out of his little Jeep. The driver stayed in the Jeep. And I was going to pull the same trick when he started asking me questions. You know, he says, so what shot you down, flak or fighters? And I made out like, you know, like, I don't know what you said. He says, what shot you down, flak or fighters? I want an answer to this. Well, I knew I had to say something, couldn't keep letting on like he couldn't speak English. He could speak English, and he knew he could. So I wasn't trying, I couldn't fool him.
Yeah.
So I said, when he asked me that the second or third time, I said, it was engine failure. Well, that burnt him up, and I looked down at all that water under me. We was on one of those arch bridges. And I could just imagine being thrown off that bridge, but he just jumped in his Jeep, went on about his business, went on into the.
Yeah, he wanted to know that there's, you know, so they can go back and brag about.
Yeah, and also
Zero,
which
yeah.
one should they put their emphasis on?
Yeah.
The fighters or the ack guns, you know,
Yeah.
that is used.
That was, what was the story about the potatoes? You told me something before. You found potatoes at a.
Oh yeah, well that
That
was
were you-
after, this was well on to when I was prisoner of war.
Okay.
I'd been in prisoner of war over a year at that time. The Russians were pushing, and all the other compounds except the one I was in the prison camp had already been shipped out by a troop train, I'll call it. And I thought, well, now we're going to get liberated. Well, early one morning they said we're going to walk. So we walked out of that place, and each one of us got a food parcel, and snow was all over, well, as ice, make our ice on the roads more than anything else. Foggy morning, and we started walking, and with that food parcel, and some of the guys would fall and food would be scattered all over the place.
Everybody grab it.
And, well, nobody grabbing. We was each trying to hang on to the parcel we had. And finally, about middle of the morning, we stopped on the side of the road, eat what we could, and just about had to leave everything that.
Yeah.
we
Well, I don't want to
couldn't
run out of
carry.
time. Did you tell me one time about something y'all were put on a ship and was just?
Yeah, that was the first exit that we did from the camp. I was always seemed to be on the Russian front.
Mm-hmm.
This was in East Prussia, and the Russians at that time was pushing. This was earlier in the war, and they put us on a ship and moved us down to this second camp. And I mean that ship was so crowded, I thought there's too many in there already.
Yeah.
Before it come my time to get on the ship.
A bunch of people died down in the hole, or?
Well,
they
not.
just
There's a lot of
really
them
got
that died. If we need to go to the bathroom, we had to go up on deck, and there's always a line of people wanting to go up, and a lot of them wouldn't come back down. They jump overboard, and they'd get shot. The first time I heard the rat-a-tat-tat, I thought we was being attacked, but it's them killing prisoners when they jump off the ship. Didn't want to go back down into that
Right,
hole.
yeah.
It's just too much.
It
And
was
that's
like a cargo ship, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was just an old iron ore ship, something like that. There'd been a lot of dirt and stuff. It's a very filthy place down there.
Wasn't no place. Wasn't no place for troops. It was.
No, but it was. We was on there 48 hours.
Well, that. I got stories where somebody ran out and caught a chicken. Y'all cooked it all up, and I could go
Yeah,
on
that
and on,
was-
but
that
we're down to a minute. I want to make sure we get
yeah, that the last 3 months of the war.
The priest caught the chicken, didn't he?
Yeah. The last 3 months of the war, we were just on the road, sleeping in barns, sometimes sleeping in just out in the open. And it was February when we started out, and we told Meg was that way. And we'd get food wherever we could. And that happened to be one time this priest was in our bunch, and he and I caught that chicken, and he skinned it pretty quickly, and we had it was kind of in the edge of the woods, and we got enough.
All right, we run out of time.
Okay.
I got that, and we got short time to go. Will you come back on here when you reach 100?
Yeah.
All right, I got you on camera saying you're going to come.
Oh yeah, I'll be back. I may live another 25 years. You
That's
never can
what I
tell.
want to come to 100.
Okay, that's good.
Thank you, Trim. I appreciate you so much. We got enough to do. We'll do a couple more shows. I got to finish this up.
Okay.
But I want to do another show we get to take up. We left a lot of stuff on here. We got to
Okay.
go to a break. Come back. I got news that you can use. Did I get that pen? Welcome back to Veterans Issues. I appreciate Truman Waters coming on doing this show today, and I really am going to have him back here to finish this up. There's a lot of interesting stuff we left on the table today and didn't have time to finish it up, but I got to take care of some business here. First thing I'm going to tell you about is Saturday the 16th at 4 p.m. Saturday the 16th of July at 4 p.m. in Centennial Memorial Park. I'm going to attempt to do something we haven't done in a long time, and I used to do this up there, and we'd have kids come up and we'd talk about the cost of freedom, and I'd use those names. There's over 10,500 names up there right now, or 10,800 names up there now, of people who have, Alabamians who have given their life in the line of duty. 10,300 of them in the military, and 537 law enforcement officers, all of them in the line of duty. And I'm going to have the kids coming up, and we're going to teach them about the actual cost of freedom, what it costs for somebody to be free. You heard the story today of Truman Waters here, what he did for his country, because he was called and he was drafted and he went and served. But in that, he paid a price of being a prisoner. Now we're going to talk about the people who really paid the ultimate sacrifice so that they can go to the school they want to, go to marry who they want to, live where they want to, drive the car. There's a lot of countries you can't do that. And for the young ladies that's going to be there, and the ones that's not, just remember, there's countries that you cannot drive a car. There's countries that are friends with the United States, but you still can't drive a car if you're a female. So we got a lot of freedoms that we take for granted here. We're going to talk about those this Saturday, the 16th at 4 o'clock in Centennial Memorial Park. Every kid will have a flag and a little other memento, and I've got some policemen going to be there. The policeman, Bill Partridge from Oxford Police. I'm going to have Jerry Lyons up there with his police bike and a few other things, surprises for you. We're going to have a lot of good music, and we're going to teach these kids about patriotism and the cost of freedom. So if you've got a child you want to hear it firsthand, just send them up to 17th and Quintard, Saturday at 4 p.m. The choice program that the VA's got, I need you to call over to Birmingham if you're interested in using a doctor closer to you. You call the 1-205-933-8101, and you press for the operator when the voice starts, and you ask them for the choice program, people, and see if you're eligible to go to a orthopedic doctor or some other doctor here locally or in your local vicinity, that you don't have to make that trip to Birmingham if you're interested in that choice program. I didn't even ask for it, and I've got an eyes appointment coming up, and they set me up locally here in Anniston, so it does work. The Kia stores, remember that Don Hobden, that bunch at Kia, they support the first responders, military, and they sponsor the show, the Kia on Quintard and the one in Gadsden. So support those that support the veterans of Alabama. Let's see. I want to think. Had a discussion before the show with a lady about pay it forward. I've always talked to you about paying it forward. I don't give you names, nothing, because I don't want the credit, but I encourage you to pay it forward, to drive in, and I do a lot over at Dunkin' Donuts. Pay it forward, and one morning I had 7 people that paid it forward behind me. We had another story where a fella with a Georgia tag got out of his car, came back, and with tears in his eyes, and he just know for less than $4, I changed that man's life. He said he had heard about this, never seen it. Try it sometime, pay it forward. We got to go. This week the salute goes to all the families that are serving, and this is for Nancy Waters, all the families that are serving, supporting their soldiers, when sailors and airmen and Marines. We'll see you next week right here on Veterans Issues. Salute, and we're out of here.